So let's create a loading animation here. So if I refresh this, look at that, there we are. And then once it's done loading, it pops up the donut chart. So let's start to create the loading animation for a donut chart. First of all, I have the donut chart ready. I get the boiler template here on Chartjs3.com getting started. Make sure you get the boiler template on that one. So once you have the boiler template, we're going to scroll down and start working on the item. And eventually we might need to set a height here, but that's later on. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to make sure that this item here, which is basically the chart object, doesn't render without our command. And so I will make sure that this is within a function here. So this is not allowed to operate without the trigger that we want to give. So let's say here, this will be the function of draw the chart. Quite simple. It will draw the chart on our command. So once we did this, you can see if I refresh, it doesn't work. That is correct, because if I copy this, put it in there, and save that, refresh, now it works. So as you can see, this works here, but I don't want to use this yet. So I'm going to remove all of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make now basically a drawing. So what we really want to do is we want to draw the animation before we draw this chart item. So what I'm going to do here now is the following. I'm going to say a constant. I'm going to say this will be our CTX or maybe our canvas. That will be fine. And what I'm going to do here is on the canvas, I'm going to say just document.getElement by ID. And what I want to grab is the chart canvas. So I'm going to say here, this is just a my chart because we have it here as my chart. So then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to get also this canvas, but more specifically, I want to have the CTX. So we are allowed to draw on the canvas. So I'm going to say CTX.canvas or equals canvas dot get context 2D, which allows us now to draw shapes on the canvas. So this one is very important for us. So once we did this, what I want to do here is start working on basically creating the item. So the first thing what I want to do is a let percentage, because we will have a percentage that will load on there. So I'm going to say this will be equal to 0 because we start by default with 0%. So once we did this, another item we need is the let difference, which will basically be an item, but this item is what we call a hoisted item. If you're wondering, hoisted like that, this is what we're doing here. We want to have the value, but we don't have the value yet. So basically it's like a flag, hoisting a value, pushing the value up, so that while we don't have the value yet, eventually we will grab it and this value will be read nicely everywhere else. So that's very important. So now what I want to do is I want to say, yeah, this will be the function, and we're going to call this our progress bar, I guess. That could be fine. And in that progress bar, we will do something specific. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, I want to make sure I want to draw a shape in here. But I also need to know here, of course, what is the size of our canvas, because right now it's just unclear. So if I do a console log, maybe we can just check that, console log, canvas, save that, refresh, open up the developer tab. You can see here the canvas, or we don't see here the height of this. Maybe say dot height, see what it grabs, 150 pixels. Alright, so we are going to force this later on correctly into the right height. So that's what we need to do. So to do this, what I want to do is I want to grab with an object destructuring. So if you're not familiar with object destructuring, I'm going to recommend you to check out object destructuring for Chart.js. But basically this is really for the canvas specific, but it is the same methodology. So what I want to do here is to get the width and the height of what exactly? The CTX. So once I have this, what I want to do here as well is, because we're going to create a circle bar, or basically a rotation of it. So I'm going to say angle equals math.pi divided by 180. Why? Because 1 pi is a half circle, that is 180. So divide by 180, we have 1 degree at a time, because we want to load them from 1 degree all the way to 100 basically. Anyway, not in degree, but 100%. So full circle. So the next thing what I want to do here is, once we have this, I need to make sure we have the div value now assigned. And this div value will be what exactly? Well, it must be that circle shape. So this div value will be based on the percentage, which we have here. The percentage is 0 by default, but we're going to say divide this by 100. So every percentage, we want to load this, and eventually we want to plus 1 that percentage. And we multiply by the angle, multiply by 360, and then multiply by 10 to get the value, and then we're going to say dot to fix number 2. So what we're doing here is, and I'm seeing here I forgot a parenthesis. What we're doing here is calculating, let's remove this one, this is an excess. What we're doing here is to calculate the angle. Basically every angle is, or every percentage of increase is 3.6 degrees of the circle. Until we have 360, that's a full circle. So we have all of this here because we have a percentage here, we need to multiply that, and then we have to make sure that it is a single value. Alright, so now we have this here. The next thing what I want to do is, I want to say here, ctx.clear rectangle, to create a rectangle, but clear it out. Just clear the rectangle. I don't want anything in there. And it will clear out from the very beginning to the width and the height. Basically the full rectangle will be cleared out. So if I save this, and now we can say here progress bar. Let's see what happens. Save that, refresh. Missing argument at 63. Alright, let's see here what's going on here. 63. Are we missing something? What exactly are we missing? No, nothing at all. Not yet, because we are not yet done here. So anyway, what I want to do next part here is start to put in the text. So I'm going to say here text, and this text is the ctx.fill style for the color equals, and then we're going to grab a color here. Right now I'm just going to grab this blue color, and I want to have the solid blue color here for the text. We want to make sure that the text shows the number and it increases every single time. So we're going to do that. And then, once I have this one, the next thing is here. We're going to say here ctx.font, and this will be a bold text. 50 pixels should be fine, and font family sans serif, which is a string value here. Once we did this, we're going to say ctx.fill text to draw the item, and what I need here is the text value, the x and the y value. Alright, so now it becomes very important what we need here, because we need to have here the percentage value. So what is the percentage? So we're going to say here this is the percentage, and then we say here maybe plus a percentage, or if you want to have template literals, maybe that's even easier for the concatenation. So I'm going to say here this will be a percentage, and this here is a variable, so we say a $, curly braces. Alright, so then we have that, but then we have here the x and y value. We know if we have this shape in the very center, we want to have the text and then eventually a circle around that. So that will mean here we need to know, alright, that was the error from previously. I forgot to put a comma here, so that should not give an error anymore later on. Anyway, doesn't matter. What I want to have here, the x and y value, is basically the width, which is the horizontal value, divided by 2. So we get the exact center, and then height, which is the vertical value, divided by 2. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we get this, but you say, hold on, this is not in the center. And that is correct because the shape here is not correct. Later on, we probably have to give our div a forced height. This is really the only thing that I am not able to fix as of now. Anyway, doesn't matter. Now we have this. The next thing what I want to do here is I want to say ctx dot hold on, what do we need here? Well, we don't need the ctx fill text. I guess what we need to do here is the arc. I'm going to create the arc, and the arc is the shape. So we're going to say here ctx dot begin path. Why? Because we want to create a new shape that's independent of anything else. Next thing what I want to do here then is to have a constant for the radius, and the radius will be based on the height of our item. Since the radius, if it starts in the center, it should be lesser than 50%, or else it will be outside of our item. So the radius would indicate from the center length all the way to the basically to the circle, ending of the circle. So let's say 40% of that. So what I want to do here, I will grab here, just to make it simple, I grab here the height, and then this height can be multiplied by 0.4, which means 40% of it. That's number one. The next thing what I want to do is I want to have a color. So I'm going to say ctx dot. This will be the stroke style, because I'm going to use a line, and this line I will make a thick line, and then it will create this nice shape. So I'm going to say here, stroke style will be same color as above. Let's put that in there. Next, what I want to do is ctx dot line width, and I'm going to give this line a 10 pixel. So if it's 10 pixel, and that's just a numeric value like that. And then finally, we're going to say ctx dot arc to draw the arc shape, which is the rotated bar basically. So in here, what I need is the x value, the y value, the radius, which we already have conveniently, and then we have here the angle start, angle end, and then here counterclockwise, yes or no, which is by default false, although you can use it if you want to have the rotation differently or something like that. But I'm going to set it on false, and later on I'll just set it on true, and you can see what will happen. For this, we have here basically, we already know, we want to get the center. So what we want to have here is then, for the width and the height, exactly the same item. The radius was calculated here, that is this one here. Now we're going to the angles. And the angle, we already have here the angle, and we want to start, where exactly do we want to start? So what we want to do here, the starting point should be at the very top, make a rotation like that. That's what we want to do. Interesting enough, at the left side here, this is 90 degrees. So if I want to go here, I need to deduct the 90 degrees. Or sorry, this is 0, but that starts basically on the left side. So if I go up here, I need to go 90 degrees in the negative. So if this is 0, but also 360, what I want to do here is I want to go 360 minus 90 will be 270. So our angle start will be 270, and then our angle end will be also 270. So we have here this, alright, but I have to make sure here one more thing, because what we have to do here is to calculate the difference. That was this one here, which calculated that difference, making sure that we have the difference between our rotation. So I'm going to grab this here, this difference, divide by 10 plus that. So once we do this, we should get here a rotated item. Let's say here ctx.stroke, save. Alright, interesting. Is it working? I cannot say if it works yet, so let's try. Oh, of course. Why is it not working? Because we have only a single animation right now. So we need to loop through this. So, because here is the stroke to draw those shapes, but now what I need to do here is an if statement. If percentage. And then we're going to say here, if it will be bigger or equal to 100, what I want to do is stop looping through the item here. And else it will be percentage, because I want to have 100%, remember that? Plus plus. So we have an increment here. Alright, so now we have this. And then what I want to do here is to make sure we have the item calculation. So I have to make sure we have this one. We can say here, clear the time out. This will be our interval. And what we need to do here then is the following. So we have this sim, and then of course this sim value needs to be in here. So I'm going to say a constant sim value is the set interval. And what is the set interval will be based on the progress bar. And the progress bar that we have here as function, we need to have two variables in here. So we have the set interval, that's the progress bar, and then of course we say here, I guess maybe 10, depending on the speed of this. So once I do this, I'll save this, then refresh. Alright, we get this animation now. So I'm satisfied with the animation, but not satisfied with what is happening afterwards. So we have this here. We'll clear out that what I want to do next is, of course, I want to draw the chart. So I'm going to grab this, put it up here, between here, because we'll say then, once this set interval is done, we want to have the percentage of 100%. We want to load the chart. There we are. So now we have the chart loaded. But as you can see here, it's not that good. And this is basically the time. We could make it shorter, we could make it longer. So if I do this, it probably goes faster. There you are. So this is just the time in milliseconds. And you can see here it starts to slow down. However, what I need to do here is making sure it's properly in the center. So what I'm going to do is two things. First of all, do some CSS here. Height. Let's say here this will be 40%. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so now we get that. But as you can see here, this is still not equal to that. So what I want to do is I want to say this must be equal to the height of this bar here, or sorry, of that element. So how do we do this? So the first thing, as you can see here, this works. So we need to grab that specific item, which is a chart card. So, or sorry, not even a chart card, but a chart box. So the element is the chart box. So I'm going to say here, constant. I'm going to say a chart box equals document.querySelector. And query selector means to select or search for a query here, and the query in this case specifically is class chartbox. So that's number one. So we've got that. And then what I want to do here is to force a proper canvas width. So if I refresh here, alright, this works, but our canvas width is still not correct. You can see here we're getting this width here, but I want to force that one, so I'm just going to force here above. I'm sure that there's better ways to do it, but I'll accept it for now. So I'm going to say canvas.width equals what exactly? It will be equal to the chart box, but more specifically, I want to be equal to the offset width, which would basically grab the width of our chart box, including the padding and etc, etc. So we need to fix that later on. Same for the height. The height will be here like that, and then we have to make sure capital H. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so now we're getting a bit better item, as you can see here, but because it is grabbing this 20 pixels, so I need to remove some of the pixels and including the border, some of the borders here. So what I want to do here, just to make it simple, let's do -40 first and see if we need to fine tune that. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so I guess here, let's change the speed of that one. We don't have to do 100 milliseconds, let's do it on 1. So we have here 388, and then if I have here, alright, so it's about 12 pixels, I guess. So let's, 12 pixels, that could be because this is 3 pixels, 3 pixels. Well, let's say here -46 for now. 46 for that one. There we are. So this looks slightly better, although I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate in the center, but you can see here some parts are not yet. Let's fix that item as well, because you can see here the text is not really in the center. So let's go here. I'm going to say here, before we draw the text, ctx.text align. We're going to put that in the center by default. Save that. Refresh. Alright. And then we have the baseline. ctx.baseline. Oh, sorry, not baseline, but that's wrong. Text baseline equals middle. Save. Refresh. And there we are. So we've got this now. And although it's not 100% perfect, I think, let me double check. Save. Refresh. Alright, let's refresh. You can see here, there is a tiny amount of pixel of error. What that is, I honestly do not know. But I'll accept this for now. You can see here. Alright, you can see here, this is not good. Let's fix that one and then we're done. I'm going to say here, let's go in here. Let's put an auto margin on it, on the ID of the canvas. I'm going to say here, margin auto, to force it into the center, like that. Because what happens is the width is large, but this one here eventually changes that structure because it's a rect or a square. So we push it like this here, although we could fine tune it with this. Let's see. Maintain or aspect, this is the issue here, aspect ratio equals 2. Let's save that. And I'm not satisfied with that one. Maintain aspect ratio, let's set it on false and see if that works. Alright, that's, to be honest, quite decent. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's it. So that's how you do it.